crave what you need.
Oh, good.
You'll start to be like, oh my God, this is hard. Go to sleep. You know, if you go to sleep, then you're fine. So when you feel something in your body and you're in stage 1, all you have to do is do whatever that thing is, and then that stage can get reversed right on the spot. But because conventional thought is responsible for the advancement of disease, nobody does that. And on we
they
go.
push through it.
They
right?
push through. I'm going to push through.
I'm going to have like 12 cups of coffee.
That's right. I'm going to prove that I can do this thing because I'm Wonder Woman and I'm Mighty Man. So on to stage 2 we go. So now what's happening is our river is starting to get some velocity. And there's more water. And the plants, if you think about the plants around the river, now the water has risen to the point where the plants are starting to be aggravated by that. Okay? And so this picture is, you can see it's coming up there and it's starting to aggravate things. So a great example of stage 2 is acid reflux.
Oh, I used to have that.
Yeah.
I used to get that problem on occasion.
Yeah, acid reflux is your body going, get it out of there. I don't have time to deal with this. I'm really, really aggravated. There's a lot of different examples. Nausea, heartburn. This is when you start to get a cold or congestion. And at this point, you are looking for over-the-counter stuff, and you're going to keep going. You keep going. You're not thinking about the fact that you've accumulated this stuff, that it's aggravating. You're going to take your little medicine, and then you're going to keep going.
And this Papa Tums, and everything's good.
That's all it is. Yeah, and so you better never Papa Tums, by the way. It's a bad thing to do. And so this is the last chance. This is your last chance without professional help to really address the issue. But since we don't ever do that, on we go to good old stage 3.
Oh, this is starting to sound a little serious.
So stage 3, we've envisioned this river has gotten so much velocity and there's so much volume of water that now it's starting to flood over to the sides, right? And so if it's flooding over the sides, and this is why people say to me, well, I don't understand. First I had this problem, with the headache, and then, I was constipated, and then I had this problem in my back, and they see them all as different things. It's not different. When you envision something flooding out, what happens? Now that the water has flooded out, it can go anywhere. And where is it going to go? It's going to go where you are vulnerable. So if you have and that's why everybody doesn't get cancer, everybody doesn't get arthritis. It goes wherever you happen to be vulnerable. So flooding to me is a huge crossroad because you're really starting to get the message, but you're not doing anything about it. So if you would do something about it in flooding, it makes life it makes my life so much easier when you come to me and I can work with people in flooding. But the problem is that conventional thought is responsible for the advancement of disease.
See, I got it.
This is really important to know. Because of that, what you're going to do is you're going to take a Prilosec and keep going. That's what you're going to do. And so because of that, now the water is flooding to that plant down there, where it used to be a problem that was local. It's now a problem that's systemic. And that is a huge, huge problem. So on to stage 4 we go.
I'm a little bit nervous about where we're going to
stage
here.
4. So we have this picture of this flood, right? Stage 4 is called displacement. Displacement means there's so much volume and velocity of water that it's just moved everything clear out of the way. Displacement is like this little house that's just floating down the river now. Displacement is huge. You are now in danger of developing full-blown disease. And I like to use a different visual aid for displacement because when I talk to people about displacement, I say to them, well, your body has this amazing ability to contort. Remember we were talking about how the systems feed each other.
Right.
And so our glass of water is trying to get from one place to the next. Well, the other side of the story to that is that if your reproductive system needs that water really bad, the body is so brilliant, it will literally distort itself to try and get it to you.
Wow.
Okay, so here's a picture of the colon, right? Doesn't that look like what everybody thinks a colon looks like?
I think so.
Yeah, that's a typical picture of a typical colon, right?
Okay.
So most people that come to me say, oh yeah, that's a colon. And I say, well, unfortunately, that's probably not your colon.
Slap kick.
Wake up time. Okay, I don't really say it exactly like that, but here's the deal. This is a colon that has not been through displacement. Okay? Most people have colons that look, you ready?
Okay.
All right. Most people have colons that look a little more like
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
They're like Chinese acrobats over here.
Here we go. So you can imagine if this person is constipated, the putrefied fecal matter has got to find its way all the way through all this distortion, and the colon is doing this and distorting itself so that it can help the body. And so the body is a brilliant combination of backup systems. That's the best way to describe it. So if you envision, say, a construction crew, this is my best analogy of this. You got a construction crew, so you're laying the brick, and I'm putting the wood pile together, and then there's somebody else that's jackhammering and somebody else doing something else, right? So we all have our function. That's how the body works.
Right.
Whenever you upset the internal balance of the body, it would be like me going, hey, there's a rain cloud. Can you help me put this wood away so it doesn't get wet? And so you drop what you're doing, the jackhammer drops what he's doing, everybody drops what they're doing, and they come and they help. Now, if every time you eat you create this emergency situation, all of these things that have no power, viruses have no power. They're not even technically considered alive. Any biologist will tell you that. Bacteria have no nuclei. They have no power. Germs have no power. The conventional thought will make you think you got to take this to fight the germ. They're scavengers. If there's nothing for them to eat, they're dead or they're gone. Okay? So if you make your body a Hawaiian retreat for, germs and bacteria, they'll stay. But if you make your body the LA freeway at 5 o'clock, the germs are like, I'm out of here.
Right.
So this is really important to understand. So getting back to here, I asked a colon therapist about this recently, and I said, see these different distortions? How young can this show up in, a person? And he said that as a colon therapist, he has seen this distortion show up in children as young as 6 years old.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So when I say displacement, I know I'm using this analogy of this river overflowing. I literally mean that your body will contort itself in any way it can to try and keep you alive. Your body's number one prime directive is keep you alive.
Right.
It's not thinking that if it robs your bones today, you're going to get osteopenia or osteoporosis.
Right.
It's thinking if it doesn't do the acid-alkaline balance today, you're going to die.
Right.
So that's what that's about. That is the true picture of displacement. Let's just breathe that in.
And I'd like to just breathe that
Breathe
right
it right on out. I know that's not a fun thing, but sometimes you really need to see things.
Absolutely.
You need
Education
to see
is
it.
power.
And I tell people all the time, you cannot fix something that you're not willing to look at. Be willing to look at it and don't be afraid. It's usually not as bad as you think. Sometimes it is pretty bad. But just like, you walk into a dirty room and you're like, oh my God, where do I start? Well, I'm standing there helping you going, start there. Let's start this. We start doing it little by little. You do the work, you plan the work and work the plan. Pretty soon your room will be clean.
Absolutely. When my kids, I tell them to clean their room, that's exactly what they do. They freak out. It seems so overwhelming.
Right.
And I say to them, pick up 5 things.
Yeah, there you go.
Pick up 5 things and then step back and then pick up 5 more, and we make a little game about it. So I can totally see how if somebody comes in, then you can say, well, start with this, now at this, now at this, and then pretty soon it's a clean room. Brilliant.
Yeah, so that's that. So as you can see, we're not going down a fabulous path.
No, it doesn't look like a lot of fun after the whole colon contortion tour.
After that, as you can see, we're kind of headed down a path here.
Right.
It's not feeling really good, but I want you to have the knowledge, and then we're going to turn it around. We're going to get to the positive. Just hang in there with me. We only got 2 more stages left. So now what we have is stage 5 of disease, which is called manifestation. Manifestation, well, the best way to describe this is, in stage 4 of disease, you're thinking, I need to do something. Maybe I should go to the doctor. Maybe I should, pick up some pills. I need to do something. In stage 5 of disease, your husband's going, honey, you need to do something about that gas. I mean, I'm going to have to go in the other room if you don't, help me out here.
Take care
of that, please? Yeah. So in manifestation, the symptoms of a full-blown disease are there, and you finally go to the doctor, and unfortunately the doctor says, I'm sorry, you have diabetes, you have high blood pressure, you have an autoimmune disease, whatever. So manifestation is when a disease is actually named. It is actually named. And so at this point, this is huge, at this point, without proactivity, dedication, motivation, persistence, it will be very, very hard to reverse the course of disease. Very, very hard. You will either have to go on medication, or you will have to decide with every cell in your being that you are going to turn this thing around. At this point, the water in our river has caused problems in every place that it's gone. And that's the reason why we have manifested a particular dis-ease in the body. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so I'm going to briefly cover flowering, because it's not a very fun thing to talk about.
Oh, okay.
but you have to know the 6 stages. I want you to know all stages, and so we'll get to the positive, I promise. Mm-hmm. So flowering, it's called flowering because these are actually, all of these words, manifestation, flowering, accumulation, they're all Sanskrit words that I have translated into English. Mm-hmm. Okay? So flowering means, in Ayurveda, you know how a flower blooms and it mm-hmm. comes into fruition and then it fades away. Mm-hmm. So flowering is a very difficult stage. That's when, you know, your grandmother has diabetes and now there's gangrene, you know, and now she has to go on dialysis mm-hmm. because her kidneys are shutting down. This is when the body systems are starting to shut down. It takes a huge spiritual awakening, intense work, very hard to turn around here, because at this point the person is starting to give up. Mm-hmm. You know, they're giving up. And so this stage of disease is really when the person kind of prepares for death. Mm-hmm. That's how that is. And so before people freak out, as we're talking about stages of disease, I like to say this right after flowering. Each stage of disease can go on for 20, 30, 40 years. Okay, you can be in accumulation for 10, 20 years. Okay, mm-hmm. So it's not like you go through these stages and you're like, oh my God, I'm just, you know, things are going to fall apart.
In like 3 months.
No, it's not going to happen in 3 months. That's not going to happen, okay? It is a progression. And the reason why I want to go through this is because I want you to start to wake up and know when you're advancing. You know, because the whole principle of Ayurveda and many naturopathic modalities, the whole principle is, hey, you're going in the wrong direction. Turn the caboose around. Mm. And Ayurveda says, well, if you can go this way, mm-hmm. well, can't you go that way?
Right.
I mean, really.
Absolutely.
That was the first thing that helped me, you know, overcome bronchitis. I thought, you know, I read in Deepak Chopra's Perfect Health book, that was the first book of his that I read, and this message came to me that if you can get something, you can unget something. Mm-hmm. And I was like, but I got something for 27 years. Why didn't somebody tell me that like 26 and a half years ago? I was suffering all this time and somebody told me. So I was actually angry, and I held on to the bronchitis longer because it was like part of my identity was being taken away from me.
Right.
And so Deepak Chopra really was my Morpheus. Mm-hmm. And Deepak Chopra unplugged me from the Matrix. Mm-hmm. When I wrapped my mind around the concept that you could unget something, I started ungetting like crazy. I ungot the congestion and mm-hmm. the cough, and the bronchitis went away. The adrenal fatigue that I had, all the muscle tension that I had at 27. I remember my doctor saying to me that he had never seen anyone my age with that level of muscle tension.
Wow.
He'd never seen in his entire career. He was like, I've never seen anything like you.
Oh my goodness.
And I thought, well, that's not exactly
what I wanted
to hear.
Right.
But thank you. And take these pills, by the way. They give me options. You just, you know, take this pill and that's it. Mm-hmm. And so the concept, wrapping your mind around the concept of ungetting something is really why I do so much work around teaching people mm-hmm. about the stages of disease. You weren't born in a stage of disease. Some people are. But mm-hmm. for the most part, you're not. You got it. Mm-hmm. So that means if you can get accumulation, you can unaccumulate.
Right.
You know, you buy a whole bunch of stuff, you can get rid of a whole bunch of stuff, right? It's the same thing. It's the same concept.
Oh my goodness, it's so